growth, and I just want to do, let's see here. One other thing I'd just like to talk about is the political side of things, which again is weaknesses that we all have to worry about in the global economy, is that we get a lot of oil. Even the United States is still, even though our consumption of oil has gone down dramatically in the United States, that the amount we import has gone down, but the price of oil has gone up dramatically from the 90s and into the 2000s. We used to pay $25 a barrel for oil. We're paying $100 per barrel now. That's the price of 4 times the cost, right? And at the same time, even if our imports are down 10, 15%, we're not making it up. We're still spending more actual dollars going out for oil. And the amazing thing is, even though the U.S. Demand for oil has gone down, that the emerging market demand for oil has gone up dramatically. So we see in China, with the pollution and the like, and the use of coal is using tremendous amounts of water at the same time, because steam-fired plants. And so coal and water are scarce. Coal is plentiful. Water is very scarce in China. And at the same time, in terms of using gasoline and oil for cars, we know it's ever expanding. If you ever tried to drive in China, roads are very crowded. So the Middle East is very unstable at the current time as well in terms of shock. And so the really interesting question is whether the threats of the conflicts between Israel and the other parts of the Middle East, the conflicts between the Sunni and the Saudis and the Shiites, which are Iran, and the whole Middle East is in turmoil, and as a result, an amazing thing about energy in these countries, that the oil minister of Saudi Arabia said that 30% of the production of oil in Saudi Arabia is used to subsidize domestic consumption of oil. And if we don't stop subsidizing oil in Saudi Arabia within 15 years, 100% of the oil production of Saudi Arabia will be used to its own domestic consumption. In Venezuela, they charge 25 cents a gallon for gasoline, U.S. for gasoline, okay? And it's so inefficient to use. And amazingly enough, if you think about the consequences of the Arab Spring, there's a trade-off between governments who are worried about their population throwing them out of power and then giving them subsidies, bread and circuses, versus reinvesting in their oil fields. And if your horizon is short term, you don't reinvest in the oil fields. So as a result of that, the oil fields of Saudi Arabia are actually reducing their output at a much faster rate than they should, because oil fields are like babies. They need to be cared for. You need new investment and new technology. And the same thing is true in countries where you have oil, such as Brazil, Petrobras, and the like, or in Mexico, where they don't have the technical skills to actually produce oil from the fields and to make them efficient. So all the oil that's supposed to be in these reserves is being lost or not being utilized efficiently. So that's politics affecting things. And today I talked about growth in terms of population and its aging, and education of the young, and jobs, and how we create value. Today I talked about growth in terms of technology and how it's going to affect things, and the interplay between technology and people and technology. And then I talked today about scarcity and resources, and thinking about how that affects people and how it affects our technology, and the positive and negative feedback systems. And then politics is the fourth dimension. And when I think about investments, I don't like politics. I think that's very pernicious. I love technology, and I love the idea of understanding how the interaction between people are, and scarcity and technology, and how that then creates investment opportunities, and at the same time figuring out ways to stay out of the earthquake zones, the government policies, which create a lot of frictions, and and think about that in terms of how we undertake investments. So thank you very much for your attention today.